Hello, welcome, and thank you for choosing to learn with me today. So in today's video, we are going to look at the arithmetic sequence, right? So in our previous video, we looked at the quadratic number pattern and also differentiated between the quadratic number pattern and the linear number pattern. So in this video, I want us to look at the arithmetic and give it some properties as we have done with the quadratic number pattern, right? So the first thing that you need to know and understand about the arithmetic number pattern or sequence, right, is that an arithmetic, the first important property of an arithmetic number pattern is it has a constant first difference. Right, so what does it mean? This term right here, constant or common first difference, is very important. What does it say to us? What is it saying to us? What is it suggesting? This suggests that since we said it's constant or common, the first difference of the sequence, this suggests that if I take the difference between T2 and T1, right, I should get the same value as when I take the difference between T100 and T99, right? Because this is the constant first difference between the consecutive terms, right? So what does consecutive terms mean? This means that the terms are arranged in a successive manner, meaning they are arranged in such a way that they follow each other, as in T1, T2, T3. These are consecutive to each other because they are following each other. You understand? All right, let's go on. So now that we understand what the constant first difference means, we need to understand another property of an arithmetic sequence. Also a property. It's not really a property, but then it's the general term or it's the general equation of the arithmetic sequence. So in arithmetic, each and every arithmetic sequence is defined by the general term Tn is equal to a plus n minus 1 times d. All right. Just like as we have emphasized in the quadratic number pattern, it is very important to know what each of the variable in this equation mean. All right, so let's start with A. What is A? A in the arithmetic number pattern is, or in arithmetic sequence, is the first number of first term, or the first term of the sequence, number or term, right, of the sequence. So let's look at an example to get what I mean by the first number of the sequence. Let's take this sequence 7, 10, 13, 16, 19, right? So the first term in this sequence is 7. Thus 7 is our A in this sequence, right? Thank you. Let's move on. What is n in the arithmetic number pattern? So n is the position of the term in a sequence, right? So this is how you count the position. For instance, this A, we said it was in position 1 and it is the first term of the sequence, right? So that means for A, n is equal to what? N is equal to 1 because it is the first what? First term in that sequence. All right, you get it. So since this 10 right here is in position 2, that means n is equal to what? Is equal to 2. So that's what the position, that's what we are referring to when we talk about n as the position. We are talking about the position where a term in a sequence is located, right? Thank you. Let's move on. Sorry, let me just... So let's talk about now D. What is D? D in this case is the difference. D is the difference between consecutive terms, right? Remember we talked about the constant difference. We talked about the constant first difference. So this D right here, this D is this constant first difference that we were talking about when we gave an arithmetic sequence its properties, right? So please do remember that. Now, lastly, let's talk about Tn. What is Tn? So Tn in this case is still the same thing. It is the value. The value of the term in nth position, right? Hence, we say nth term. When we find Tn, when we find the general term, we call it the nth term because it's the value of the term in nth position. You get it? Thank you. Let's move on now. Let's look at an example. Let's take the example that we had, the 7, 10, 13, 16, and 19. Let's try and find everything that is in this equation. So basically we are finding the nth term, or we are finding the general term of the arithmetic sequence, right? Times a D. So what is our A? Our A is the first number in the sequence, and in this case is what? It's 7. So our A is equal to 7. You get it? Exactly. So do we need to define n? No, we do not need to define n because our equation must have n at the end. Hence the nth term or the general term. So n is what you are going to plug in the equation most of the times. All right, so let's define D. What is our D? So our D, we said, is the difference between the consecutive term in a sequence. So this means we take T2 and subtract T1 to get D. Let's do that. And our D is equal to, in this case, let's take 10 minus 7 and we get a 3. So our D in this case is what? Is 3. Now let's plug in what we have into our original our equation, the nth term, which is Tn is equal to A is 7 plus n minus 1, right, times D, which is 3. We just found to be 3, right? So let's clean it up and multiply this out. It's gonna be 3n, right? 3n minus 3. All right. we further clean it up. We have 10 Tn is equal to 7 minus 3, which is a 4, plus 3n. Right. So now we have the general equation. So how do you see if you are correct? You go back here. You go back to the original sequence and plug in any value of n and see if you will find the value that is given on that value of n. Let's do that so that we are really sure that we did the correct thing. Let's say we want to find the value of T4. T4 is here. This is the fourth position in the sequence. All right, so T4 is equal to 3. 3 times what? 3 times 4, because n is equal to 4. Plus 4, right? Exactly. So 3 times 4, let's work it out. 3 times 4 is equal to 12 plus 4. What is 12 plus 4? That's equal to 16. Our T4 is equal to 4. It is equal to 16, which is exactly what we are given here. 16 is T4, term number 4 in the sequence is equal to 16. This is what we have, and this is what we just found using this equation. So this means we did not make any mistakes. We got the correct equation, right? So let's look at the next, another example. This example is one important example. But okay, before that, since we have the general term, you may be asked to find, let's say you were given 19 over here, right? Or maybe let's just continue it, and so this is gonna be 22. So let's say we were given 22, and the question arises and says, determine which term in the sequence has the value of 22. So we are given 22, but what is this 22? This 22 is basically Tn. So if you are given the value, we are given what? We are given Tn. So Tn is equal to 22. So how do we go about finding this term that has a value of 22? Remember, our equation says Tn is equal to A plus n minus 1 times D, right? But we have the value of Tn. So that means we can plug in Tn and we find n, because we are looking for the term, the position. We are looking for the position where we find the value 22. That's what we are basically looking for. All right, so let's do that. We know our Tn is 22, right? We know our A is 7. We are still working with the same example that we started with, okay? Don't be confused. So our n, we do not know. We put it as it is. That's what we are trying to find out. We know our difference. What is our difference? Our difference was 3, right? And we cleaned this up, and we ended with 3n plus 4, right? So now we have this. We have only one unknown in this equation, which is n. N is our only one unknown. That's what we are trying to find out. We are trying to find the position in which we find the value of 22. All right, so let's work this out. 22 minus 4 is equal to what? To 3n. And this gives us 18, right? We get 18, which is equal to 3n. So we now divide both sides by what? By 3. And we get n is equal to 6. Right, so we now have found the position in which we find Tn is equal to 22. So when n is equal to 6, Tn is 22. Let's go back to our sequence. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Indeed, 22 is in position 6. You get it here. Thank you. Now I want us to look at an example which I think is very much important, and it causes confusion in for many people. So we have this question here. It says x 4x plus 5, 10x minus 5 are the first three terms of an arithmetic sequence, right? And we are asked to determine the value of x and hence this the sequence, right? So we first need to find the value of x, and then we find the sequence, the original sequence that is defined by this sequence that we are given here in terms of x. All right, so how do we do this? I know a lot of people, I myself was a victim once. I would get confused and do a lot of things that are unnecessary. But what you are always supposed to do is always consider the properties. Consider the properties of a sequence that you are given. If you are given a quadratic sequence, consider the sequence of a quadratic sequence. If you are given the arithmetic sequence, consider the properties of an arithmetic sequence. If it's a geometric, so on and so on and so on. Always consider the properties. So let's think back. What are the properties of an arithmetic sequence? So we said they have a what? A constant first difference. All arithmetic sequences have a constant first difference. So let's use that property to solve this. Let's take let's find the common difference, as if we were given a numerical arithmetic sequence, right? How do we do that? As always, t2 minus t1 is equal to t3 minus t2. That's what we need to do first of all, before we go on and do anything, right? Exactly. What is our value of t2? Our value of t2 is 4x plus 5 minus x, right? That's the value of t1. And we equate that to the value of t3. What is the value of t3? That's 10x minus 5, right? Subtracting t2. So this is what I need you to do. Always put t2 in brackets. If this was also x plus something, please, or x minus something, please put it in brackets, just like this. So t2 is 4x minus 5. Because if you don't put it in brackets, what you are prone to do is to make mistakes and give the negative sign only to the first term. Let's say you may give the negative sign to only this. You are likely to do that. So let's do it now. Let's clean things up. So 4x minus x, that's 3x plus 5. That's equal to, cleaning this side up, we have 10x minus 5, right? Minus, now this is where it becomes important, putting things in brackets. We distribute this negative sign and we get a 4 minus 4x minus 5. You see the importance of putting things in, putting that term into brackets. That's that. All right, so let's go on, continue solving. Plus 5, that's equal to 10 minus 4, that's a 6, a positive 6, and then minus 5 minus 5, that's a minus 10. Right. Okay, let's put let's take x to the other side and the other terms to the other side, the terms that have x. So we're gonna have 3x minus 6 is equal to minus 10, and when 5 gets to the other side, it becomes negative, so it's minus 5. All right, let's clean up here. It's 3 minus 6, that's equal to minus 3x, right? Exactly. So minus 10 minus 5, that's a minus 15. Great. So we divide both sides by negative 3 and we get x is equal to what? To 5. But we were asked to do what? To determine we are not done. So a lot of people make this mistake. They find the value of x and leave the question as it is, but only to find out that you get half a mark because you did not finish the question that was asked of you to do. You are asked to determine the value of x and hence the sequence. All right, let's determine the sequence now. So we were given our sequence in terms of x as x, 4x plus 5, 10x minus 5, and so on. Right, so what we need to do now is just plug in the values of x. So we have 5, that's the value of x, 4 times 5 plus 5, right? And T3 is 10 times 5 minus 5. Right, so our sequence now becomes 5 times 10, that's 20, plus 5, that's 25. 10 times 5, that's 50, minus 5, that's 45. So we have our sequence now. This is the sequence that we are looking for. Then we are done. You get your full marks, right, in an exam or a test. So I think that's about all that you need to know about the arithmetic sequence. Please do come back for more videos. On our next video, we are going to look at the geometric sequence, which is very much exciting and very much important for this sequence and series. All right, thank you very much for watching, and please do come back for more videos. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with other friends. All right, let's keep learning.